So if you found yourself to this page, you're going to want to go down to courses. And when it loads up, you're going to go to Intro to Web Development. You can either click here and click down here in the button. They're going to take you to the hub where all the lessons will be stored. Let's start with the very first one, an overview of the coding platform that we're going to use, which is called Glitch. You click on this hamburger menu right up here. It's going to take you to a couple options. There's the video, so you can watch the video that you're actually already watching. The Glitch template, where you're going to be doing all of your code. And to download the file so you can work on your own code editor at home. We're going to click on the Glitch template, where I'm already signed in, but the very first thing you're going to want to do is sign in. But because this is the master file that I made for my students, you're going to want to, in order to make any changes, we're going to remix this. And remixing just means making a copy of your own that you can edit and change. Let's take a look at some of the things in this file. We have our panel over here to the left, the content of whatever we've clicked on over here to the right, and lots of buttons over here that we're going to get into in just a minute. So sign in, and the very first thing you're going to do when you start a new project is hit this button over here called Remix to Edit. As see, it's going to refresh, and it's going to open up a brand new video or brand new project, and it's going to have a randomized name. First thing you want to do is you want to call it something specific over there, like Lennyroy 1. You can always change it later, but this way, when you are in your profile, you can easily access this project again. So let's take a look at Glitch. We have some information up here to watch these videos again, or just jump right to the next lesson. If you scroll down, you'll see the tips and tricks section. Number 1, the markdown button. That's this button right up here. It turns it from this nice view to the behind the scenes view. It can be helpful when wanting to see the syntax of some of the code that's going to be in later resources markdown files. Getting back to your profile. If you're signed in, your picture's right here, and if you want to get back to your collection of projects, this is how you do it. You just bring this drop down down, and you can enter your projects right in there. I'm not going to do it just yet. Starting a new project. This is a new project, but if you wanted to give up and do another one, all you got to do is either go back to your profile where you can do it, or selecting down on the name of the project, and you could hit a new project right there. Change the theme and wrap the text. If this is your first day on Glitch, you're probably not seeing the dark background, you're probably seeing the white background. In order to change that, go over here to your picture, and you can change the theme from light to dark. You can switch whether or not your app refreshes on the changes. That means if you add some new piece of code, it will display right away and reload your browser. We'll see that in a second as well. And go ahead and hit this button to wrap text, because it's going to save you a headache later on. It just makes everything a little bit more compact. Next, refreshing the app. Let's make a change. In fact, this is your index.html file. It's a good time now to go over it. This is going to be where all your code lives. If you look a little bit lower on the resources markdown file, you'll see a bit of an explanation on what each one of these things over to the left are. There is this sheet right here, which is kind of information and supplemental information. Our index.html, which houses your code for these earlier lessons. And the CSS and JavaScript, which is where you put the code that is going to be in later lessons, a little bit more advanced stuff. We'll get into all that later on. And the assets, where we put our images, music, and add them to our project. We have a couple of pictures already in the assets, which we can use by highlighting them, and it will show us the SRC value, which we'll use later when we learn that piece of code. Let's see what's next. In our index.html file, we want to see a refreshing change, right? So this button up here is the show live button, so you could see your work. Right now there should be nothing on here, but I'm going to add one piece of code called an H1. And there it is. Now pay attention to this area right here. I'm going to add a couple S's, and see how it's reloading up here? That means it's refreshing on every change. So every keystroke will change the app. Sometimes that can be a little annoying, so I leave mine unchecked. And there, that way, if we hit S, our app is not refreshing. However, if I refresh the page, there it is. So you have to refresh every time. You'll get used to it. Couple of more things. Some of these become more complicated, so I'm not going to get into them, but feel free to explore Glitch and get to know it. It's going to make the projects a lot easier to get into. There is the sign out button right here, like lots of apps. You see that this is kind of the command center up here. The share button, which is important when you want to have other people have access to your work. If you want to code with someone else and have them come in and correct your work, or you want to correct someone else's work, you can join their project or share yours. So you can take a look at all the options in there. The close menu button closes the side panel so you can have more room to code. The rewind button is for version control, very advanced topic, but if you mess up and you want to bring your project back to how it looked at an earlier point in time, this is how you do it. And we already went over renaming our file, creating a new file. Is this button right here. Let's say we wanted this style sheet, but we wanted to add a new one. We would hit this button and do new style, and then the language.css, hit add file, and it adds a file right there. Renaming that file, there's a little arrow over here to the right of a new file. So it goes for every one, but you got to be careful when renaming it. You have to have a good reason, and you could just rename it right there. New styles. Switch project and advanced tools, all that will come with time. The real important stuff is this button right here where you can see your project and then knowing the individual files and where to work with them, which I'll let you all know in each individual lesson. And that much wraps up everything you need to know about Glitch. Just to get started, but I included some supplemental material here for you to peruse, including some information about the history of Glitch. So each program, each lesson is going to start with a little bit of a preamble, some links to activities, which will be here in the side panel, resources, which will be like a map of tags and different functions and web development ideas that you can use and you can reference. And then followed after a GIF, you'll see the instructions numbered with clear instructions, and even some code snippets for you to look at and then type out by hand. You shouldn't copy and paste because it's really good to work that muscle when you're first getting started. And as you go through the lesson, eventually it will end, and there will always be these reference materials. There will always be these helpful links for more exploration, and then these two buttons. One of them, which will take you to the next lesson, which in this case is WebDev HTML1 Master. And if you hit back, this button, which takes you back to contents. And then we're just going to actually go right back. Well, no, if we hit this button, it's going to take us to the copy of Glitch 1 that we made a copy of. We want to go back to our version, which we named something specific. In my case, I named it, I think, Roy 1, which is exactly what's going to happen when you go to the next lesson. It's going to be a closed down version of the HTML1 lesson. And the very first thing you need to do is remix the edit and start the process all over again.